There are moments in life when you sit alone, surrounded by silence, and you begin to wonder why your journey feels different from everyone else's. Why the tests seem heavier, why the nights feel longer, and why your heart keeps returning to Allah no matter how far you feel you have gone. But perhaps, just perhaps, what you see as a burden is actually a beautiful sign of honor. Not every heart is awakened. Not every soul is invited to reflect. Not everyone feels the pain of distance from their Creator. When Allah chooses someone, He does not always choose them through ease. Sometimes He chooses them through struggle, through tears, through moments that break them only so they may rise stronger in faith. Think about it. When the world pulls you away, yet something inside you keeps bringing you back to prayer, back to remembrance, back to seeking forgiveness, that is not ordinary. That is a sign. When your heart feels uneasy after committing a mistake, when guilt pushes you to raise your hands and whisper, "Ya Allah, forgive me," this is mercy speaking to your soul. A dead heart does not feel remorse. A chosen heart does. The fact that you still care, the fact that you still want to be better, the fact that you still turn to Him in your darkest hour may be one of the greatest signs that Allah has not abandoned you. Rather, He is drawing you closer. There are moments in life when the weight on your shoulders feels heavier than words can describe. You try to smile in front of people, you continue your daily routine, and from the outside everything may seem normal, yet deep inside there is a storm only Allah truly knows. In those moments, many people begin to question, why me? They wonder why the tests keep coming, why the pain does not seem to end, and why life feels more difficult than it appears for others. But one of the most profound signs that Allah has chosen a person is often found in the very trials they are going through. What feels like a burden may actually be a badge of divine attention, a sign that Allah is preparing that soul for something far greater. Trials are not always punishments. This is one of the most important truths a believer must understand. Sometimes hardships come not because Allah is displeased, but because He wants to elevate a person's rank, purify their heart, and bring them closer to Him. The people most beloved to Allah were often the ones tested the most. The path of faith has never been a path of constant ease. It is a path of growth, patience, trust, and surrender. When Allah chooses someone, He often begins by shaping them through experiences that force them to depend on Him alone. Think about the moments when everything in life seems to fall apart. A plan fails, a relationship ends, a financial problem arises, or an emotional wound keeps reopening. At first, these moments seem painful and unfair, but sometimes Allah allows things to break around you so that your heart may break open toward Him. A heart that has never been tested often remains attached to the world. It becomes comfortable with temporary things. But a tested heart begins to realize that true peace does not lie in people, wealth, or worldly success. It lies only in Allah. This realization itself is a gift, and not everyone receives it. Trials have a way of removing illusions. They strip away the false sense of control we often carry. They remind us that no matter how strong we think we are always in need of our Creator. When Allah chooses a person, He may place them in situations where all worldly support seems to disappear, so they learn the beauty of relying solely upon Him. In the darkest nights, when no one understands your pain, you find yourself raising your hands in dua with sincerity you never had before. Tears begin to fall and words come from the deepest part of your soul. This closeness to Allah, born from hardship, is often one of the greatest blessings hidden within a trial. A person chosen by Allah is often refined through pain the way gold is refined through fire. Gold does not become pure without heat. In the same way, the soul does not always become strong without tests. Every hardship carries within it lessons that comfort can never teach. Patience is not learned in easy times. Trust is not developed when everything goes according to plan. Strength of faith is not built in moments of luxury. These qualities are born in the midst of struggle. When Allah wants to raise someone spiritually, He teaches them through life itself. Sometimes the trial is internal rather than external. It may be a battle with fear, loneliness, anxiety, or sadness. These invisible struggles can be some of the most powerful means of drawing a person closer to Allah. When the heart feels restless and turns repeatedly toward prayer, remembrance, and reflection, that restlessness itself can be a sign of divine care. Allah is not distancing you. He may be pulling you nearer through the very pain you wish would leave. Many people assume that being chosen means receiving immediate blessings in visible forms such as wealth, success, or recognition. But sometimes the greatest blessing is spiritual awakening through hardship. A person who turns to Allah because of their pain is receiving something more precious than anything the world can offer. Trials awaken hearts that have been asleep. They remind souls of their true destination. They make a person realize that this world is temporary and that every difficulty carries meaning beyond what the eyes can see. There is also purification in trials. Sins weigh heavily upon the heart, and difficulties often become a means through which Allah cleanses His servant. A believer may go through hardship not to be destroyed, but to be purified. Every tear shed with patience, every moment endured with faith, every silent struggle carried with trust becomes a means of cleansing the soul. What seems like loss may actually be mercy in disguise. The chosen person is often the one who is being prepared for a higher level of faith and character. Allah sees in that soul a potential that perhaps even the person themselves does not yet see. So He trains them through circumstances, shapes them through setbacks, and strengthens them through pain. One day they look back and realize that the very trials they once begged to escape were the reason they became closer to Allah, wiser in their thinking, softer in their heart, and stronger in their spirit. When you are tested, it does not mean you have been forgotten. Sometimes it means you are being specially noticed by the one who created you. The difficulty may be the very sign that Allah is writing something beautiful for your soul, preparing you for a level of closeness, wisdom, and reward that could never be reached through ease alone. Every hardship endured with patience can become a means of elevation. Every wound a doorway to spiritual healing. Every storm a reminder that Allah is shaping you for something greater than you can currently understand. There is a special kind of feeling that only some hearts experience. A quiet restlessness that never truly leaves, no matter how busy life becomes. Outwardly, a person may be surrounded by people, responsibilities, goals, and distractions, yet inwardly there remains a deep longing, a sense that something is missing. This feeling is not always sadness, nor is it simply worry. It is the heart searching for something greater than the world can offer. One of the most beautiful signs that Allah has chosen a person is this very restlessness, a heart that keeps seeking Him, returning to Him, and finding no true peace except in His remembrance. Not every heart feels this pull. Many people can spend years immersed in worldly pursuits without ever pausing to ask why their soul still feels empty. But when Allah chooses someone, He often awakens within them a yearning that cannot be satisfied by success, wealth, relationships, or status. The person may achieve things they once dreamed of, yet still feel an emptiness that nothing in this world can fill. This is not a curse, it is a sign. It is the soul being reminded that it was created for more than temporary pleasures. It was created to know, worship, and return to its Creator. Sometimes this restlessness appears after a mistake, a sin, or a period of distance from faith. A person may try to move on, distract themselves, or ignore what they feel, but something inside keeps whispering that they need to come back to Allah. They cannot fully enjoy the distance. Their heart feels heavy. Their conscience remains awake. This discomfort is itself a mercy. A dead heart feels no pain when it moves away from Allah, but a chosen heart feels the absence deeply. The pain of spiritual distance becomes the reason the person turns back in repentance and tears. There are nights when such a person lies awake, unable to explain why they suddenly feel the urge to make dua, to ask for forgiveness, or to seek guidance. They may not even have the perfect words, yet their heart begins speaking before their tongue does. This is one of the clearest signs of divine guidance. Allah places in the heart the desire to seek Him. The fact that your soul refuses to remain satisfied without His presence is a sign that He is calling you closer. Often the world teaches people to chase external fulfillment. It tells them that happiness lies in achievements, recognition, or material comfort. Yet many who possess these things still feel an emptiness inside. A heart chosen by Allah begins to understand that true contentment is not found in the dunya alone. It realizes that worldly things may bring temporary joy, but they cannot provide lasting peace. Only remembrance of Allah can calm the storms within. This realization itself is a blessing because it shifts the focus of life from what is temporary to what is eternal. Sometimes Allah allows a person to experience disappointment in worldly matters precisely so that their heart turns back to Him. A dream may fail, a relationship may break, or a plan may collapse. In that pain, the person begins to search for meaning. They start asking deeper questions about life, purpose, and faith. What seems like loss becomes the beginning of spiritual awakening. The heart starts recognizing that every road eventually leads back to Allah. A restless heart also often becomes more sensitive to right and wrong. When such a person falls into error, they cannot remain comfortable in it. Their heart continues to nudge them, reminding them of their values and their connection to Allah. This inner discomfort is not weakness. It is a sign of life within the soul. It shows that faith is still present and active. Allah has not abandoned that person. Rather, He has honored them with awareness. There is beauty in repeatedly returning to Allah. A chosen heart may stumble many times, but it never gives up on coming back. Every fall becomes followed by repentance, every weakness by renewed effort, every tear by a sincere dua. This cycle of returning is itself a sign of being chosen. Allah keeps the doors open for the one He loves. He keeps guarding the heart back again and again until the person begins to understand that every journey of the soul is really a journey toward Him. This restlessness can also manifest as a growing love for acts of worship. A person may suddenly find comfort in prayer, peace in reciting the Quran, and strength in remembrance. What once felt like routine begins to feel deeply personal. Sujud becomes a place of healing. Dua becomes a conversation from the soul. Silence with Allah becomes more comforting than noise with the world. These are not ordinary feelings, they are signs of a heart being drawn nearer. Sometimes the chosen heart feels isolated because others around it may not understand this longing. While people chase worldly goals, this person keeps thinking about their relationship with Allah, their akhirah, and the state of their soul. They may wonder why they think differently or why their heart feels so deeply. But this sensitivity is not something to be ashamed of. It is often a sign that Allah has planted within them a deeper awareness and spiritual insight. A heart that constantly seeks Allah is a heart under divine attention. It may still struggle, it may still fall short, and it may still face moments of weakness, but the difference is that it keeps returning. The soul never fully settles away from its Lord. It keeps searching, longing, and hoping for closeness because Allah has placed within it a light that refuses to be extinguished. This restlessness is not emptiness for no reason. It is the soul being gently guided back to the one who created it, the one in whose remembrance hearts find true peace, the one who keeps calling His chosen servants back to Him through every longing, every tear, and every silent whisper of the heart. One of the most powerful signs that Allah has chosen a person is that no matter how many times they fall, the door of return never seems to close for them. Life is filled with moments of weakness. Every human being makes mistakes, slips into sins, and experiences periods where faith feels lower than it should. But there is a difference between a heart that remains lost and a heart that keeps being invited back. When Allah chooses someone, He often keeps placing within them repeated opportunities for tawbah, moments where the soul is stirred, the conscience awakens, and the heart feels called to return. Tawbah is not merely saying words of apology. It is the journey of the heart back to its Lord. It is the moment a person recognizes their weakness and turns sincerely to Allah, asking for mercy, forgiveness, and a fresh beginning. The beautiful sign lies not only in the act of repentance itself, but in the fact that the person is still able to feel the need for it. Many people commit wrong and feel nothing. Their hearts become hardened and they move forward without reflection. But the one whom Allah is guiding often feels a deep unease after a mistake. Their soul does not allow them to remain comfortable in disobedience. This feeling of guilt is not something to hate. In fact, it can be one of the clearest signs of divine mercy. When the heart feels pain after sin, it means the light of faith is still alive inside. The conscience remains awake. Allah is allowing the person to recognize their distance so that they may return. The pain of guilt can become the bridge that leads a person back to prayer, tears, and sincere dua. Sometimes the opportunity for tawbah comes through a quiet moment of reflection. A person may be going through their normal routine when suddenly their heart feels heavy. They begin to think about their actions, their choices, and their relationship with Allah. Without anyone reminding them, they feel an urge to seek forgiveness. This inner awakening is a gift. It is Allah placing awareness in the heart. He is not leaving the person to wander endlessly. He is gently guiding them back. At other times, tawbah comes through life experiences. A difficulty, a loss, or a painful moment shakes the heart awake. The person begins to realize how fragile life is and how desperately they need Allah. What first appears as hardship may actually be mercy because it pushes the soul toward repentance. Allah sometimes uses circumstances to call His servant back when the heart has become distracted by the world. One of the most beautiful signs of being chosen is that after every fall, the path back to Allah still feels open. No matter how many mistakes a person has made, they continue to find themselves turning back, making dua, and asking for forgiveness. This repeated return is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of hope. It means Allah has not abandoned them. The fact that the heart still wants to return shows that divine mercy is still surrounding that soul. Many people think that because they have sinned repeatedly, Allah will no longer accept them. This is one of the whispers that often keeps people trapped in despair. But the chosen heart keeps finding the strength to return despite this fear. It continues to seek forgiveness because deep inside it believes in Allah's mercy. That belief itself is a sign of guidance. Allah keeps the door open for those He loves even when they come back again and again. Tawbah also transforms a person. Every sincere repentance softens the heart and increases awareness. The person begins to understand their weaknesses more deeply. They become more humble, more compassionate, and more aware of their dependence on Allah. A person who has truly tasted the sweetness of repentance often becomes spiritually stronger than before the mistake, because now they know the power of returning to Allah. There is something deeply beautiful about a servant who keeps coming back. Every time they raise their hands and whisper, "Ya Allah, forgive me," they are acknowledging that only He can heal what is broken inside them. This humility is beloved. A heart that repeatedly returns is a heart that is being nurtured by divine mercy. Sometimes Allah places reminders in a person's life to create these moments of tawbah. It may be a verse from the Quran that suddenly touches the heart, a lecture that feels as though it was meant specifically for them, or a simple conversation that awakens reflection. These moments are not random. They can be signs that Allah is choosing to remind that person and guide them back. The beauty of tawbah is that it does not only erase sin, it renews the soul. A person who sincerely repents often feels lighter, calmer, and more connected to Allah. It is as if a burden has been lifted. This feeling of spiritual relief is one of the gifts of repentance. Allah allows the chosen heart to taste the sweetness of coming back so that it never loses hope in His mercy. Repeated opportunities for tawbah are one of the clearest signs that Allah is still writing goodness for a person. The soul that keeps returning no matter how many times it falls is not forsaken. Rather, it is being called, invited, and gently pulled closer. Every moment of regret, every tear shed in private, every whispered plea for forgiveness is a sign that Allah is still choosing that heart for mercy, guidance, and closeness, and every return becomes another step toward a stronger faith, a purer soul, and a deeper connection with the one who never tires of accepting those who sincerely come back to Him. There are times in life when something you desperately wanted does not happen. A door you prayed would open remains firmly shut. An opportunity slips away at the last moment. A relationship you hoped would last suddenly ends. A plan you carefully built begins to collapse before your eyes. In those painful moments, the heart often asks, "Why did Allah not give me what I asked for?" Yet one of the most profound signs that Allah has chosen a person is found in these very delays and closed doors. What appears to be rejection may actually be divine protection, and what feels like loss may in reality be mercy unfolding in a form you cannot yet understand. Human beings naturally see only the surface of things. We look at what we desire and assume it must be good for us. We become emotionally attached to outcomes, convinced that happiness lies on the other side of a certain opportunity, person, or success. But Allah sees what we do not see. He knows the hidden consequences, the unseen dangers, the pain that may come later, and the paths that could pull the soul away from Him. When Allah chooses someone, He sometimes protects them not by giving them everything they ask for, but by withholding what would ultimately harm them. A delayed answer to dua is often one of the most misunderstood forms of mercy. A person may pray for something with sincerity and feel heartbroken when it does not happen quickly. They may wonder if their prayers are unheard. But delay does not mean neglect. Sometimes Allah delays because the timing is not yet right. What you are asking for may be good, but not good for you in this moment. Your heart, your circumstances, or even your spiritual state may need preparation before receiving it. There is wisdom in divine timing that the human mind cannot always grasp. We often want things according to our schedule, but Allah gives according to perfect wisdom. A person chosen by Allah begins to understand that every delay carries meaning. It may be teaching patience, strengthening trust, or preparing the soul for something greater than what was originally requested. Closed doors can also be a powerful form of protection. Sometimes a person feels devastated over a missed opportunity, a job that did not work out, a proposal that was rejected, a plan that failed. Yet months or years later, they look back and realize that what they once saw as heartbreak was actually rescue. Allah protected them from pain they could not foresee. The closed door was not punishment, it was care. This protection often becomes clearer with time. In the moment, the heart sees only disappointment. But later, when the truth of the situation is revealed, a person begins to understand that Allah was saving them from something their eyes were too limited to perceive. A chosen heart learns to trust that not every unanswered prayer is a loss. Sometimes it is Allah saying, I have something better, or I am keeping you away from what would harm your soul. There are moments when people, places, or opportunities are removed from your life unexpectedly. It can feel deeply painful, especially when you had attached your hopes to them. But divine protection sometimes comes through removal. Allah may take away what your heart is clinging to because He knows it is becoming an obstacle between you and Him. The pain of separation may be temporary, but the spiritual growth it brings can last a lifetime. A chosen person often experiences redirection. They may walk toward one path with full certainty only to find it blocked. In frustration, they may question why things are not working. Yet Allah may be gently redirecting them towards something more aligned with their purpose, their peace, and their akhirah. What seems like a setback can actually be guidance. Protection through delays also teaches a believer surrender. It trains the heart to release the illusion of control and to trust in Allah's wisdom. This trust is not always easy. It requires patience in uncertainty and faith in the unseen. But these qualities are signs of spiritual maturity. The chosen soul begins to understand that not receiving something immediately does not mean Allah is withholding goodness. It may mean He is preserving something better. Sometimes Allah closes one door so that the person is forced to walk toward another door they would never have considered. The first path may have been filled with hidden pain, while the second path carries growth, peace, and barakah. Looking back, many people realize that their greatest blessings came after what they once thought was their greatest disappointment. Divine protection can even appear in the form of repeated failure. A person may keep trying to achieve something and wonder why every attempt falls apart. But repeated failure may itself be a sign that Allah is steering them away from a road that is not meant for them. Rather than seeing this as abandonment, the chosen heart begins to see it as guidance. This perspective transforms pain into trust. Instead of asking only, why did this not happen? The heart begins to ask, what is Allah protecting me from? And what is He preparing me for? This shift in thinking is a sign of deeper faith. The believer who understands divine protection no longer measures blessings only by what is given. They begin to see blessings in what is withheld, what is delayed, and what is removed. They recognize that Allah's mercy is not always obvious in the moment. Sometimes it hides behind tears, confusion, and unanswered questions. A closed door today may be saving you from a storm tomorrow. A delay in receiving what you want may be preparing you for something far more beneficial than you can currently imagine. When Allah chooses a person, He protects them in ways they often only understand later, guiding them away from harm and toward what will strengthen their soul, increase their faith, and bring them closer to Him, even when that protection first arrives in the form of disappointment, silence, or a path that seems to end before it begins.